So here it is, the UCS Sail Barge. We finally have it now. Rumors and talk of this set have been going around for at least the past 2 years, and now we finally have it. It seems like it's been forever. Set number 75397 with 3,942 pieces and a retail price of $500 US. I'm just gonna say right now, that's very overpriced, but I'll get to that. The first thing I want to talk about is the box art, and obviously it has that all black UCS box art that LEGO has been using recently, although I do have to say, with this being the sail barge based on Tatooine, I think it would have been really nice to have a bright, vibrant Tatooine background. It would have just looked cool and made the set look a bit more appealing in my opinion. Although one thing that's cool is that on the top of the box, you're going to have all the figures included in this set. There's a lot of them. And then of course, Jabba the Hutt himself, the first one in 11 years. And then on the back of the box, there's a lot of various things back here, like some pictures at the bottom showcasing a lot of the scenes from episode 6, as well as a little blueprint showing the dimensions of the set at the right. And then at the top, you're going to have a big showcase of the interior of this set and how these side panels can fold down. It gets even better when you open the box up. There's going to be a lot of art with some pictures of the sail barge and then Jabba the Hutt, and then of course Max Rebo the goat. And then on the inside, you're going to find 2 more boxes, where on the sides it's going to say Jabba's sail barge in a bunch of various different languages. And then you're going to have art of Max Rebo, which you just saw, and then also art of Salacious B. Crumb. And then inside these boxes is where you're going to find your bags. And dumping these out, there is a lot in here. The first box contains 17 bags, and the second box contains 19 bags for a total of 36 bags. There's also some other stuff like 2 instruction manuals, a sticker sheet with 13 stickers, 2 little paper bags which contain both halves of Jabba the Hutt, which I found to be kind of weird, and then a large paper sort of pamphlet that contains the cloth sails. And I was actually a bit surprised to see these were cloths. When this set got revealed, I saw people online saying they were plastic, but it's really nice to see that they're actually cloth. And then you're just gonna have 2 loose unnumbered bags with some larger pieces, as well as your printed plaque and a few of those long cable pieces. In typical UCS fashion, the first instruction manual contains a lot of information about the set that you can read about. There's tons of stuff in here about Jabba's sail barge in Star Wars, the Sarlacc pit scene in Star Wars, information about the designers and how they designed this set and the whole process they went through, as well as various different pictures showcasing the different features of the set, including this one that shows the designers with the sail barge as well as the desert skiff and Sarlacc pit from earlier this year, which I find to be kind of ironic because honestly for $500 a Sarlacc pit and desert skiff should have been included in this set. But anyways, there's a lot in here. You can pause and read it if you want to. And then of course at the very end, it's tradition for them to show us how to pick up the set, like we can't figure it out on our own. The second instruction manual is not much to see. You just jump straight back into the building process from where you left off in the first one and go all the way to where you're done, where you're going to find a total of 873 separate steps for this build. I didn't time myself, but I am a slow builder and I estimate this took me around 7 hours to build, and there is definitely a lot to show off. But first off, let's start with the minifigures. Here we have R2-D2 and C-3PO, and starting with R2-D2, he looks phenomenal. I mean, the figure itself is just your normal R2-D2 that we have been getting for years now, but the cool part is the table piece on his head with the glasses that actually have liquid in them. I've never seen pieces like these before. I'm sure they've came in other sets, but still they just look really cool. It's such a little extra amount of detail, but it goes a long way. C-3PO on the other hand is not so good. Well, I mean, the figure itself is fine. It's got good printing on the front and the back and good arm printing. However, it's not the C-3PO that should be in this set. Here's the C-3PO that came in the buildable C-3PO that you see up there on the shelf, and this figure is currently the most accurate and best C-3PO that LEGO has ever made, and it's still in production right now because that C-3PO set is still on shelves, and for some reason LEGO did not put it in this set. I know everyone is complaining about this right now, but I mean for good reason. There was no reason to include the lesser version of C-3PO when there is currently a great one in production right now that is more accurate and better. This is a UCS set that I paid $500 for, and I expect the best of everything. Anyways though, going from bad to good, next up here we have Slave Leia, or Hutt Slayer Leia, whatever LEGO calls her. The printing all around is great, and she's got these awesome dual molded legs. Some people have been saying how they don't like the dual molded legs with the side leg printing, but I think it's fine and I think it looks great. She's also got good back printing and a very nice hairpiece, although the reason I said nearly perfect is because I wish there was some arm printing, specifically one of those like gold arm rings that she wears in the movie. I think that simple detail would have made this figure just a bit better. This is a UCS set, so I just expect detail on all of the figures. Anyways though, next up here we have the fan favorite Max Rebo, and he looks great. He's a very simple figure. Really the most notable part about him is that headpiece, which actually is fairly detailed. It's got some creases and dimples here and there that just add a nice look. Again, it's very simple, but it's a fan favorite and it looks cool and it's unique. unique, and I don't have the 2013 one to compare it to, but if you're wondering, they are basically exactly the same, except for just an ever so slightly different shade of blue used on the headpiece. Next up here we have Bib Fortuna, and he looks great, except for his headpiece because it's the same one from Boba Fett's throne room, which is the Book of Boba Fett Bib Fortuna, which is like the fat old version. But other than his headpiece being a bit inaccurate, he looks great, got great printing on the front and the back, and as you can see here, he does have a double-sided face. Next up here we have the Gamorrean Guard. This is also the same one from Boba Fett's throne room, so nothing new to see here, but this is a great figure that definitely gets the job done. Here we have Jabba's goons, or henchmen, whatever you want to call them. I think they look really awesome, except for the fact that they don't have leg printing. First up here we have Azam, very basic figure, but I like his look. I love the yellow and blue, and it's cool that he has the same headpiece as Pow from Krennic's Imperial Shuttle in 2016. Next up here we have Woof, that is literally his name, W-O-O-O-F, and he looks great. He's got an awesome head print with that sort of sand green color, as well as a pretty interesting hat piece and a double-sided face. And then lastly for Jabba's goons we have Kathaba. This is also just a cool and unique looking figure. I love his face print and his headpiece, and he's also got nice printing on both the front and back. Again, all three of these figures look great. They're nice background characters and aliens. I just wish they had leg printing. Again, this is a UCS set. Even if it was something as small as just creases on their pants, it would have worked. Next up here we have probably the most controversial figure in this set, being Salacious B. Crumb, and in person he definitely does not look as bad as he did in those pictures that leaked a while ago, but I do have to say he literally looks soulless without pupils in his eyes, and like everyone else, I do think the 2013 one is a bit better. And then lastly we have Jabba the Hutt, probably the best figure in this set if you'd even consider him to be a figure. He's very similar to the last one we got in 2013, he's just got a few different printing patterns, and as you can see here he's got the Hutt logo printed on his right arm. Overall this is just a great figure, and on the little stand with the plaque there is a place to sit him. There's this little green brick right here that kind of indicates that's where he goes. There's also going to be your 25th anniversary brick on this stand, as well as the plaque for the Cell Barge itself, and this is in the matte finish. It's not in the glossy finish that was in the TIE Interceptor from earlier this year, and it looks great except for that mold dimple. I usually don't care about the mold dimples on these plaques, although this one doesn't look good. I think because it's so close to the actual Sail Barge itself, it just looks like it's kind of in the way. Again, I don't usually care about the mold dimples on these, but this one is very noticeable. But overall, I think this stand looks great with Jabba the Hutt and the two plaques on it. Also, one thing you might have noticed earlier is that there is actually one big long stand to hold all the other minifigures as well, and I love this thing. I think it's a great inclusion for extra displayability, although I kind of wish it was left out, and that's because I think the minifigure lineup is actually kind of lacking, and I think if this was left out, we maybe could have gotten one or two more minifigures. I know that logic might be kind of dumb, but that's how I'm thinking about this. Specifically some Weequay guards, because they are literally everywhere in the Sarlacc pit scene, and there's none in the Desert Skiff set from August, and there's also none in this set, so I honestly think if this stand was left out, we could have maybe gotten a Weequay guard or two. The figure lineup is definitely solid, although there is not enough of them, and what we do have should be a bit better. Anyways though, enough talk about minifigures, let's actually look at the build itself, and I have to say, it surprisingly looks pretty solid. Now, it's in no way perfect, there are definitely some problems it has, although it looks way better than it does in the product images, especially in this one right here. I don't know how LEGO messed this picture up so bad, but it makes the set look not good at all. But in person, I am happy to say that it looks way better than it does in the product images. Although, to no one's surprise, it does not feel like a $500 build at all. Maybe $450 at the highest, but preferably somewhere between $400 and $430. This just does not feel like $500. Although diving into the nitty-gritty, starting off with the side paneling, the back of the side paneling is really where this set shines the most, I think. There is so much detail back here. I think LEGO did a phenomenal job. This is probably my favorite area of the set just because of the amount of detail. There's even some nice scribbling down at the bottom that's not even very easy to see. On the sides here, you're going to have the fins that are pretty easy to move because they're on ball joints and they can move pretty much anywhere you want them to. They also look really well, except for that sticker. It doesn't look bad. Again, this is a UCS set. I just wish it was printed, but for the most part, I think the fins look great. Also back here, you're going to find the windows or hatches that can open up that are seen throughout the scene in the movie. There's 8 of them on each side, and I think they look really good. They add just even more detail in this back area, although unfortunately, there's not really a great way to make the minifigures pop their heads out. But again, besides a few nitpicks here and there, this back section looks incredible, and it's really where this set shines. Although when you move from the back to the middle section of the side panels, that's where it kind of starts to get a bit rough. For me at least, there's just too many studs showing, and it's just way too cookie cutter throughout this middle area. I just think it looks pretty bland and boring, and a lot of people are like, oh, well, that's how the Sail Barge looks in Star Wars. Well, no, not necessarily. If you look, there's actually quite a bit of detail on the side of the ship in Star Wars, and I think LEGO could have easily added more detail on the side here, just some different tiles here and there, maybe some like 1x4s or 1x6s here and there, and also sprinkle it a little bit more dark brown just to make it more detailed and not so bland and boring in this side section. When you're looking at it directly from the side, I just don't think it looks as good as it could. Although continuing on to the front, like the back, the front section looks great as well. There's actually a good amount of detail and tile to stud ratio, and the shaping up here is very impressive. I know the front of this ship has a very awkward shape, but LEGO did a phenomenal job at capturing it here, and I'm very impressed. Also, one thing that's worth noting is there is some minimal detailing at the very bottom going all the way across from front to back, and I think it's great that LEGO added some detail down here, even though it's not necessarily very easy to see. Taking a look up top at the sails here, they look pretty much perfect. I think they're great. The shaping on them is awesome, the color's perfect, and they have those black stripes. Although one complaint I have is that they're not very high up off the deck of the ship. It looks pretty crammed up here, especially depending on which angle you look at it. It almost looks like the sails are just laying directly on top. Although thankfully, the sails can very easily be removed. You just pull them straight off. And if you're wondering, here's what the design of the actual like mast, I guess, of them looks like. It's fairly simple but detailed, and it's on a ball joint so it can sort of move back and forth to pose however you want. And then to put them back on, you just sit the Technic pins straight back into the slot, and then you can kind of angle them up and down however you want, but obviously they're supposed to go at sort of a downward sloping angle. The deck itself looks incredible too. There is a lot of detail up here, and it actually resembles a pirate ship, which I really like because the sail barge really is just a space pirate ship. Starting off in the front here, there's some detailing with some cables and then the railing that wraps around, and as you can see here, there are some studs showing, indicating where you can sit some minifigures up here. Then right behind that, there are these hatches that can open up, which lead down into the interior of the build, and as you can see, there's a little ladder inside of there where you can kind of have a minifigure act like he's climbing up. Right behind that, you're gonna have this big gun mounted to the side of the railing that looks awesome. You can have a figure behind it, and it sort of can move up and down. Then right behind that, there's gonna be this sort of box that can open up. I'm honestly not really sure what this is supposed to be. You guys can let me know in the comments. And then right behind that, you're gonna have the main turret, which looks very good. This thing is extremely detailed, and just like in the movie, you can grab Leia and sit her on here like she's manning it. Although one thing I do have to say is that with Leia on this turret, the deck itself feels a bit crammed. I honestly wish it was maybe 1 or 2 studs wider. Regardless though, right behind the turret, you're gonna find a little ladder and some stairs that move up to the high point of the deck, where you're gonna find a little table that looks awesome and some more studs to sit some more figures. And this is what it looks like when you put the sails back on. Like I said earlier, the sails are very close to the deck of the ship. It just looks a bit crammed. I think they should have just been a tiny bit taller just to make it more spacious up here. And speaking of space, there actually is quite a bit of empty space up here where more figures could fit. I wonder which ones those should have been. Now to get inside the sail barge, first thing you do is take the sails off obviously, and then these side panels just very easily fold down on both sides. And then from there, the deck actually splits apart. It comes off in 2 sections. It just very easily lifts up. It's not even held down by anything. It just sits on there. And then you have very easy and very open access to the interior. And there is a lot to cover in here, and we're going to dive into all of that. Starting off in the front, there's going to be a pretty awesome control room up here. Now most all the control panels are stickers, but they still look really cool. I just wish they were printed because this is a UCS set again. Next room is going to be a little prison room with a ladder that can very easily be removed. You just pull it straight up, and then right behind that ladder, there's going to be a massive weapon rack that has lots of weapons on it, more than enough weapons for the number of minifigures that are included, maybe some extra ones for some other figures that should have been included. Anyways though, then you're going to find a tiny little jail cell that has a sticker of some tally marks marked on the wall on the inside, and this thing can very easily be removed. You just pull it straight up, and this allows for an easier way to sit your minifigure on the inside, and then you just sit it back in there, and then you can close the gate on bro, and he's in jail. The next room is the kitchen area, and this is definitely the most detailed room of the interior. There's so much going on here, from fish on the wall to turkey legs on the wall to various different glasses and dishes and things. There's even some drawers that can fold out with some bones in them, and there's even some stacked plates back there in the shelves. Like I said, this is easily the most detailed room of the interior. There's also even some stickered recipes on the wall. There is just so much in this one little room. It's awesome. And then next up is going to be the main room where Jabba sits on his throne, I guess is what you'd call it. I honestly don't really know. It's just where Jabba goes. And then you can grab all of your figures and put them in here and very easily recreate the whole entire scene. It's pretty awesome. And then also back there, there's another little sticker of a hut. I'm not sure if that's Jabba or a different one. And then last but certainly not least, in the very back, you're going to have Max Rebo's little area where he can play mysterious keyboard or whatever you want to call it. It's very hard to get on camera, but it looks really good. An awesome little area for him. And this is what his little keyboard pod thing looks like. Very simple, very detailed, just some stickers on it, but it looks cool, although I wish they were printed like every other sticker in this set. Also, if you're wondering, this is what the back looks like. Not a whole lot, just some more views into the interior, as well as just some plain back walls. And then once you have all your figures on the inside, the first thing you do is put the deck pieces back on just very easily. They just sit right on there, and then you just very easily fold the side panels up and then grab the sails and sit them back on the top, and your sail barge is ready to go. Now here it is paired with the Desert Skiff and Starlight Pit set that came out in August, and I have to say this is a phenomenal setup and just display piece. They do look really awesome together, I can't lie, it's phenomenal. However, if you want this display right here as you see it, it's gonna cost you $580. And is this worth $580? Definitely not even close. If we're being real, all of this should have been one set for $500 total, and on top of that had some more minifigures like some weakways like I've been saying throughout the video. So this is a beautiful display setup, it's just extremely overpriced. And as for the sail barge itself goes, again, like I said, the build itself surprised me a little bit because it looks way better in person than it does in the product images. However, for $500, I honestly just don't think it's quite up to standards with UCS sets of this price, like the Venator you see back there in the background, and some other sets like the UCS Falcon and the AT-AT and even the Razor Crest. I just don't think it's really up to standards with those. Again, it did surpass my expectations, except my expectations weren't very high. So for the build alone, I'm feeling a generous 8 out of 10, 2 points off just for the lack of detail here and there, especially in the middle, the overuse of stickers for a UCS set, and just some other nitpicks I had here and there. So I think 8 out of 10 is pretty generous. Now for the set as a whole, including the minifigures and the price, it is overpriced and the minifigure lineup is lacking, so I'm feeling a solid 7 out of 10 for the set as a whole. Unless you just really want to get your hands on this set right now, I would wait until it goes on sale before you buy it. Anyways guys, let me know what you think about it down in the comments below. If you're new, please consider subscribing, and if you want to check out more of my videos, you can see them on the screen right now.